attack. Get ready.
Upon the red rock of Mars, I have built my church, and from it, I shall erase all organic life.
I am going to enjoy taking you apart, Ultron. One bolt at a time.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have to stop them from securing the mission area.
Whoa, whoa.
Doom must be a broken man. He's in lyrics with so many lives.
You're ready?
I'm worried. Who will help? Feel better. Fight better.
Now that's real power there. I suppose that helped.
Don't mind me. I'm just dying.
Dodge this, mate! Line crush!
I'll patch you up.
Chin up! Thanks for the love, love.
Those guys are about to
Breathing gunshot! Your
Hey,
battle
Dee, enjoy the exercise.
Extermination!
Cheers, mate! To me! Breathing gunshot! Psionic surge! A little
Don't
extra
mind
oomph.
me. I'm just dying. Ah, much better.
Oh, that's fine. But thank you. Vortex field!
That's what I need. I'll patch you up.
Clear the way!
That's what we need.
Disappear!
Fear Magneto!
Disappear!
Some resistance.
Your mind is mine!
Again!
Much better.
Hey, Dee, enjoy the amplifier.
Heaven! Fall!
Scratch my back.
Psionic surge!
Double kill! Only 6
chance is over.
I suppose that helps.
They've made it halfway! Stop them!
Some uninvited guests.
Extermination!
Much better.
Hello, everybody. Well, good evening. We're a little late on the stream right now, but tonight we are versing Bowie State, and it is UAlbany is against Bowie State. I believe this is either playoffs week or the week before playoffs. We are very close. It is playoffs week, as I'm being told. So these are some exciting games. Sorry we're a bit late, but right now we're on Convoy. Sorry, I'm like really far behind right now. But UAlbany is kind of running this down right now, getting successfully through the first point with a decent amount of time. Only 30 seconds left, though. I don't know how it's gonna play. Looking at this comp, I mean, Angela got nerfed a little bit. This is the new season was just pretty recent. A lot of big changes, so it's really interesting to see that Angela is still being used. Quenchable online with ult here. We do know he's very prominent with Bucky ults. But pretty early invis from Gabe here, and Quenchable not able to get it. Actually, wow, last second pick on that. That Iron Man got like kind of destroyed. I wonder if he's gonna try. He doesn't have a shift to kind of maybe go up at Mag and tank that. But Albany's up 2 here. Angela and Adam are dead, but Bowie State does successfully get the invis ult off on point. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Mag has to waste a bubble there to save Ultron. He was about to get hooked by Quenchable there. And yeah, Mag has to try to poke out this Ultron, but unfortunately Bowie State successfully got Adam and Angela back. They both just probably flew back right after they died, and maybe Albany couldn't get a few picks with the 4 people who were alive. Although I say that, but Cloud is loud. They successfully getting 2 here. It's actually, the fight's winnable again. Only 1 person on point. So, I'm not going to say surprising, but really well done by the Danes. Even though it kind of looked like the fight was shifting back and forth there, they do successfully get the point here. And I will say that, and they will get into the second half. Only a minute and a half, though. They got the most time they could have gotten here. And this is the Sunni team, I believe, because Quenchable is... This is gold? Never mind. I'm way off, everybody. But, I mean, we're just going to have to see. If Quenchable, I haven't been in Rivals in a hot minute. We did just have spring break over here, so I'm a little out of it in case you cannot tell. But, and the start of the new season, and me not playing, I don't know too much. But all I know is White Fox is not anywhere to be seen. And looking at the back at the comps here, Ultron and Iron Man, I'm shocked to see that there's 2 flyers. I did not know flyers were kind of being used in comp like this. Marcus popping ult on with Rocket, and Mag's trying to pick off this Ultron, but it's not going to work like that. Angela actually blocks Pictac's Mag ult with the shield. The shield is still... Angela's just like that, but Ultron does die there to Quenchable, and Mag actually trades with Cloud as loud, so the tanks got traded, but Marcus actually had the respawn beacon down, so it's as if he didn't die at all. And it's a tough fight here. Quenchable has another ult online, so Angela's getting bullied in the backline. Usually it's the other way around. And Albany actually does successfully win this fight. Adam is going to rest himself here. I wonder if he's going to rest his whole team in the corner. He actually does, probably trying to take this fight early so Albany doesn't get any more space here. But the Iron Man pick here, I'm shocked he didn't just get killed off really quick right there. He was just kind of standing in the open. But this is not too good. Gabe and Eternix both have ults, but, Adam can only go so far. He actually pops it pretty early. I don't know if I agree with that. I say that, but, 2 people died through the invis ult, but that does mean the invis ult is down, so they're not going to have that, and they're, by the time they respawn, this fight is looking really preferable for Bowie State here, and I believe they were on either swapped to Daredevil or were on Daredevil, and it is kind of showing going to work right now on this back line. And yeah, Albany is just, it's very unfortunate here. But, kind of unfortunate State not having the best ults here. And Bowie State is going to not allow Albany to get to the end here. However, 2 points and almost about a little bit over halfway of the quarter, so about 3/4 of the way, not something to complain about. And this is for me to look back on it, but a group ban, a cloak ban, a Thor ban. That Thor ban we constantly see. I think a few of them play Thor on the team, so maybe it's like a household name in the league that the Albany teams have really good Thors. Then Angela and Invis say very common amongst. I feel like every team's been saving Invis recently. Maybe she's just that good. Then we see the Strange, Gambit, and Namor banned from Albany. That is really weird. Namor, maybe he's just. I think he's pretty good in this map just because there's a bunch of high walls and stuff, so his squids can just be annoying. But Strange, usually Albany likes running Strange. It's a pretty common pick, and then Gambit's always been banned. Nothing different here. But looking at the comps, Pictax on Angela, he must have got really inspired. But we are back to triple support. Maybe with the new season, the supports got buffed of some sort. Adam must be, because Adam and Rocket are on both teams here, which is kind of crazy. Then Cloud's Lab normally on Emma. Then the other teams sticking with their comp, other than swapping off Ultron for, I believe, Invis. Were they on Adam and Ultron? That does not sound like the best healing they could have. So maybe Invis getting swapped for a more main healer role. Maybe they were lacking in that a bit. But going into this choke here, it's kind of interesting to see now that we're off Mag. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult to hold this choke, and we see Angela just dive right in. They did change her shift. You cannot cancel anymore. It's on a cooldown. Patak did get the Iron Man though, but not gonna. They're off Rocket though, so they're not gonna have that anymore. I think they're on a Rocket and Ultron, so they did a few swaps here. So it is good that Albany got the pick here. Mag will probably die on point, because he really can't do much after his own bubble, especially against Angela. Angela's just the Mag eater. Like, she can just deny Mag Strange. Any shield tank fears Angela. So it's really interesting that both teams are opting for kind of a shield tank and Angela just to, kind of make it even here. And Albany is doing a really good job of holding the choke. In the Iron Man pick, I'm going to say it again, I don't think it's a good pick here. Quenchable is really just denying him any space, on top of Angela just being a nuisance. So I definitely think the Iron Man is going to go back to Rocket. I think that's a good move. However, the DPS on Bowie State is not the best here. I mean, Angela can only do so much. And similar to Daredevil, if they both don't get good dives and don't get their good burst damage, they're not going to do a lot of damage. And speaking of, Mag gets picked off there. Daredevil, surprisingly, in their own Invisible. That Invisible was really late, to be honest. 2 people dying. I think basically 3, because Adam either died within or out of the ult. So it's kind of a wasted ult. Once again, another thing going towards Albany's favor here. And like I was saying, the burst damage is just not it. So I think they're, kind of opting for a little more sustained damage. We see support pool, probably just to, help with the damage a little bit, just gun them down. Then Emma kind of copying Albany here, but they are going off Angela, which was funny because they started on Angela, then Albany took it and just did it much better. And I don't know if Albany knows that they're going behind the waterfall. I didn't even know you could do like a rollout there. That's really interesting. So they're kind of taking behind the site here, which maybe might work out in their favor. I don't know though, because Albany does have 2 ults, so they can just shut this down. And like I said, just as I said, Angela's going to do 2 dives onto them, combining all these ults. They're all stuck there, but they're alive. Quenchable does use the Bucky'll and gets it back successfully. I think he just missed Daredevil there, so he's not going to get it back. But Albany does win the fight, so, I mean, as much as I say that the Animal comes out, so, the fight's basically just back on. But Eternex and Cloud's Lab both have ults, so I think here, God forbid something happens, Eternex can just use Adam ult, which he does use in preparation for this fight. As he goes down, I think it was just as a precaution, so if his team did lose the fight with Adam, they would just get rezzed. And maybe a little of a, maybe he was thinking a little too deep about it, because Albany did win the fight successfully, so it really didn't matter too much in the end. But I think in from what I see, it was a really good play. It's just luckily the fight went in their favor, so it didn't have to come to that. Then going into this next fight, we see Cloud Slide did hold on to Emma ult. Both Emma ults online, but the difference is Gabe does have Invis ult, while Adam gets picked off, and their Invis doesn't have anything. But Cloud Slide got picked off by Buck. They swapped to Bucky while they're really taking inspiration from each other. I really think Gabe should ult here, even if it is a 5v6. Angela's trying to take Mag out of his fight. I definitely agree with that. I think Gabe should maybe find a different position real quick as his ult goes down. As I say that, two are picked off on Bowie State as they use their own Invis ult. And Quenchable, I didn't realize, had ult again. That's his whole thing, is just producing these ults. But unfortunately, he does die there. I don't think he got too much value from the Bucky ult. And once again, Deadpool is just pumping out these ults on cooldown. It is going to go down here, attacking a beautiful pick on the Invis. Two supports down, only Adam is not looking good for Bowie State here. They only have Mag ult, and he's not even copying it because, Angela's probably just going to block it. And it does not get blocked. It actually gets a Turnix, but if he has Cocoon, which he doesn't, but it doesn't even matter because Albany does successfully take game 1 on payload. Well done by the Danes. That is, even though I did come almost halfway through the first round, really well done by the Danes to even just hold that choke there. Doesn't really, not to say it doesn't matter what they did on their attacking half, but very well done. And Quenchable getting an MVP. Not to say he usually does, but pretty typical of him. Actually, that is the second game. Oh my god, I missed the first one. And Quenchable is showing that he is just kind of like the raid boss of this game. 43-8 is quite impressive. 25 final hits. He always finds a way to get final hits. I don't know how he's doing it. I should ask him for some coaching maybe to help me rank up. And not to discredit the rest of the team. I mean, the healing output is just greatly different here. Although Rocket is not the most technical character, the value is there. Can't blame him. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Then the rest of the port is doing this successfully. But yeah, very well done from Albany there, and we will be back once Game 3 starts. Welcome back, everybody, and for potentially the final game, we are going to Hellfire. I shouldn't say that. I really should believe in both teams here to put up a worthy fight. And, once again, I know it's a little late on the last game, but it is, Adrian Magno is back for this one. Quenchable hitting a level 100. That is crazy. I don't think I'll ever see level 100 in my life, to mention. And, I should reintroduce the teams. It is the UAlbany Gold team versus the Bowie State Bulldogs. So, my apologies. Very last minute over here. And, if I had to expect anything, Thor is probably going to get banned. Classic Gambit banned from Albany. And it kind of looks like both teams are running, like hovering the same comps as before. I'm assuming Quenchable has been wanting to play Thor, but it's been constantly getting banned. Bucky getting banned, which kind of helped both teams, so it's kind of weird that they're banning something that could help each other out. Then I see a BP, Hover, and Jeff, and Deadpool. It's just not looking like a good time. If I had to deal with that comp, I would not have fun either. And funny enough, Thor actually gets saved here. They're, using a slot to save him. I mean, he is pretty decent on this map. I will give them that. But, maybe Quenchable's Thor is probably just, crazy like that. Then Jeff fan is so personal. Maybe they were playing it in the first map, or maybe Jeff's just really good on this map, but that is crazy. Not to mention that the player on Bowie State has, a very big proficiency on Jeff. I think that's, way down the line. So they probably peaked his career and said, we're not dealing with that. Groot gets banned. Maybe Groot was being played in the first match. I'm assuming most of these bans are because of the first match, or maybe the first half of the second match. Daredevil gets saved. I'm assuming that's for the BP player, potentially, if BP gets banned, or if they just need another option other than the BP. I know he got, a slight change, not a buff. I won't call it buff. BP players do not get buffs. They only got alterations where he can jump after the wall climb right away. Let's go BP players. Then Invis save, I think Bowie State actually saved her last time, so it's interesting that Albany's saving her now. Both teams want Invis. I mean, I think she's just still one of the best healers right now, even after the changes a while ago. Then Ultron ban, he is pretty decent on this map, I believe. So, and he was also kind of a nuisance in the previous map, so it's quite understandable. Then Rocket ban from Bowie State. Once again, both teams were using rockets, so it's kind of interesting that they were doing that. So, the bans here, it kind of doesn't help both teams. I mean, the Invis and Thor save and the Daredevil and Angel save are very personal, but I feel like the bans kind of hurt both teams. Well, I would say more, it hurts Bowie State more than Albany, because, Groot, we don't usually play him, but we can. Bucky is a big one, but then, Rocket, you don't need Rocket, but it is lovely, right? So, looking at the comps, Quenchable on Thor. Actually, now that I'm looking at the map and remembering what map it is, it's interesting that Thor's being played here. I usually opt for Angela personally, just because she has a little bit more movement, because there's not too much cover on this map, so Thor might, he has to play cover really well. Then, standard, mag, then Fantastic as a pseudo tank here. So then we have Adam, Luna, and Invis. So they're playing a really kind of brawl kind of poke, but they're really tanky because they have two main supports and 3 really tanky people. And then kind of similar for Bowie State, Loki, Punisher, Wolf, Mag, and Angela. It's kind of similar here where it's going to be a really big back and forth between both teams where they're probably just going to poke at each other until somebody falls or maybe somebody needs to reload, if I had to guess. And funny enough, the Adam player, Eternix, is just standing next to his tank, and Samzuki, I don't think he was expecting Wolverine to grab him there. Fantastic does get somewhat countered by Wolf, just because once Fantastic doesn't have his shift, Wolf can just, eat him up. Speaking of Wolf, probably almost died there from whoever dove him. Might have been Quenchable that he dove. I don't believe so, but he got really low. Speaking of, the Angela player actually gets picked off by Gabe. That is really interesting. She must have not maybe dove properly, or Thor used the lightning realm, because the lightning bubble does ground Angela. It's really annoying, trust me. Then we see from here, that, Thor is really denying Angela space here, really just everybody's space here. I think that's the reason they picked him, is to try and either grab people or just really deny them space. And we see Quenchable just trying to use the shift to bring people back into his team, which is pretty standard for Thor players. Speaking of, he's actually getting a flank right now on Thor. I mean, Thor kind of does play like a tanky DPS sometimes. I think we're really seeing that here. And Angela died. I didn't even see it. Loki ult is online. I wonder who he's going to probably go after. I would assume Invis, and it's going to be kind of similar to the Cloak thing, where we see 2 of the Cloak ults. It's going to be 2 of the Invis ults. And I was right. Loki did copy Invis, and Punisher actually pops ult here, but I believe, yeah, Mag ate it all up and actually killed him. That is standard for Mag players if they see Punisher. So Samzuki actually went on Moon Knight, which I don't know if I agree with here. I mean, it does kind of deny Punisher from going into turret. Very unfortunate, Angela didn't die there. But, we're really going to have to see. It's probably going to disrupt the backline. And I can't believe I'm seeing this, but we're going on triple tank with Hulk. I don't know if he got buffed. I'm doing a disservice for everybody here for not looking at the patch notes. But, yeah, Hulk is crazy as of right now. Quenchable dying here, but Eternix using ult here, I think I agree with it. I think, you need to keep this pressure up before they could get any other ults. They did have Invis ult, and Luna did die. I don't know why Marcus really died there. I think the Invis ult, the Luna ult was smart, but I just don't think his team used it well. And Quenchable really bullying anybody that he can see. He's getting these quick shifts off. And, although I did say Marcus did die, maybe they didn't use the ult well, they actually continued to win the fight. And, I think that was definitely because of Quenchable taking space and Samzuki, respectfully playing Moon Knight. You don't like Moon Knight, but you always, end up going on him. Then, I really should have known this because I play Loki. He's my most played character. But Moon Knight is definitely here to counter Loki. I think both Albany teams just don't like Loki at all because we either see him banned or Moon Knight's constantly picked. Mark is actually getting a pick on Mag there. That's really interesting. I want to see his positioning there, where the Mag is dying to Luna, and his Angela's not getting good value. I really think Quenchable's shutting him down. I say that, but she got a really fat ult off. But Gabe does force Gabe to use ult there, which is not what we want to see. Invis ults usually tank a lot of things, but only tanked once. That's not that good. Then the Hulk ult here actually kind of going crazy. I wish I could do that personally, because most Hulks use it just to live. It's kind of like a second life. If you play Overwatch like a Winston Primal, but I think the Bowie State used it really effectively. He clapped 2 people, which is impressive to say the least. So the Hulk pick is really interesting here. I kind of love to see it. You don't normally see it in competitive play like this, and Quenchable is definitely going to look deep with this ult. And I say that, and he runs back to his team. He's such a good teammate. He doesn't just tunnel vision. Smart, very smart. But I think Bowie State, as of right now, is in a better position. They are holding this choke very well. They have 3 ults online, but Mag did die. So I think Albany should take the space. I say that, but Mag forced to pop ult here and gets blocked by James. Joking, obviously blocked by Angela. But, he really used it to live there. It wasn't really that effective otherwise. Maybe it ate a little bit, but in the end they did win the fight, so I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, but they won the fight, so we can continue. And Quenchable holding that ult, I thought he used it, but I was mistaken. But we still had 3 ults. Nobody's popped ult other than Dark Magic and maybe Samzuki. Then Loki obviously copying Invis ult here. Forcing Marcus to ult here. I don't know if he was low or if they just anticipated the Invis ult. I think Marcus should go back a little bit. I think he's a little too deep with his tanks here. And I think maybe his support or the backline could have used it a little bit, and you could have brought them back into the fight. Quenchable did not get, I think, either any or just a lot of value out of that ult that he finally used. But he's really just bullying this Angela here. It's actually hilarious. And almost died there, but I believe what he did was he popped his lightning, what is it called? Where he's throwing lightning. I'm forgetting the name, but he used it to get the overhealth to, Awakening, that's what it's called, to get the overhealth and then just to dash away. Then they're back on Wolverine, or I think that they stayed on or they got back on Wolverine is kind of helping here. And this fight, it's just a bunch of back and forth. I say that, but Quenchable is so deep in there, just trying to make space successfully, I would say. Maybe the Luna Snowflake is just, just pumping heals into him. I would assume so. Then, I did say they were in a bad spot, but Albany really taking the fight here, and I do think Quenchable's going to get a really good value here on this kind of like doorway. The doorway is just so annoying. Samzuki, I say Quenchable, but Sam getting a huge Moon Knight ult to force the choke. And it's really interesting. Bowie went strange, but just didn't port. Kind of strange, for lack of better words. I figured you would do that, and Hulk just trying to hold on here. And, Bruce Banner cannot hold point. So Albany is successfully going to get to the third section here. But similar to last game, they only have the maximum time of a minute 30. So, yeah, it's not looking the best. But the fact that they got this far, you never know what could happen. Payload, you usually want to try and get to the end. But if you know you can't, or you're just unsure, you just want to push it as far as you can no matter what the cost is. And it's interesting enough, Bowie State changing their comp real quick, going off of Hulk onto Hela, which I don't know if that'll work too well. There's not really too many squishy people here. I mean, Invis and Luna kind of have a little bit of sustain, so it's hard to say. I say that, but Quenchable actually died to Hela, which is not the last person, but one of the people I thought would, stay alive a little bit, judging by how he's been playing this game. And Sam he's doing Moon Knight things. There's really not much else to say here. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I would say Magpie is the ult here soon. Both having Invis ult in front of him. I would say he should ult, eat it up, and try to get an entry pick, probably on Loki. So that's what I would say. And we see here Marcus actually using Luna ult through these runes, and probably just ended right before Strange ult, forcing Gabe to use Invis ult. I think that was pretty successful. A little scary, but successful from Albany. And Sam actually died. I wonder if he was maybe on top and got picked off by Hela. And the Turnix on Adam here almost just one-clipped a squishy. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean, a bunch of back and forth here. And another Invis ult by the OG Invis, that was Loki from before. A Turnix with a huge res. This Loki might save the game, because it was, right near a point and almost his whole team died. Sam dying again to Strange. I think maybe he's playing a little too close, probably getting maybe a little nervous, and, maybe not thinking about his positioning as much, And, as much as they did get a really good res, speaking of Adams, resing himself right in the middle of the fight, playing like a third DPS here, even though he has not that much, he's going to fly away. Unfortunately, dies right before the Invis ult. That is a shame. And everybody else dying through Invis ult. That is unfortunate. Quenchable does try to get a point, but does not get through. And we talked about it, we just try to push the point as much as we can, and uncertain thing like that. So I don't think Albany did a bad job there. So, 2-0, not terrible. I wonder if Bowie State's gonna go back on Hulk. I thought that was really funny, or maybe the Hela pick is kind of working out for them. However, I don't think the Strange pick is it here into Thor. But I say that, but Quenchable's on tank pool now, so throw that all out the window. And if I had to assume, I think Albany's going to go into more of a poke comp. Obviously, from what they're choosing, but the fact that they're going tank pool, who has the capability of poke, probably, Bowie State really only has Hela for the poke. Cloak can kind of do it, but she's kind of just like not doing much. It's like, you're doing really like tiny bits of damage. And Wolverine is quite the opposite of poke. Invis has the limit of range, similar to Strange and Emma. So I think Albany's recognizing that and kind of swapping to more of a pokey comp, going onto Deadpool to probably shoot out the Strange shield. And once they all have Strange shield, they don't really have much, to be honest. I don't think this Wolverine pick is it in the slightest. If he can't even get close, then there's no value. But if he can, then yeah, their backline might be cooked. So we're gonna have to see. Yeah, I think that Hela, on top of that, I think the Hela is gonna have to put the work in here to really get a pick. Because like I said before, I mean, Moon Knight's a little squishier than you think sometimes. So, and we do see the Hella trying to get an angle here. I would personally kind of just hold that kind of like, not head glitch, but kind of where he can just see the heads of his enemy without them really seeing him. Probably benefit him a little bit. Sam already almost on an ult, him and Deadpool kind of matching each other almost. And Emma actually died there, which is really interesting. Don't know how she did that. I mean, I don't know if Emma's really doing well recently. I feel like a lot of people are kind of figuring out a little bit more and more how to just play space properly. As I say that, Sam does die to Hella, really unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, the ult would have been helpful here, but because Quenchable can only do so much with Deadpool, and we do see him jumping into the backline here, just trying to tank as much as he can. Just, you know, using his cooldowns really well there. Most Deadpools just use the sword to get out from their dive. Quenchable barely dying there. I don't know what Eternix is doing. He's kind of just flying in the middle of this fight here. Funny, but you know, he could have got picked off. We wouldn't want that. Then Moon Knight, you know, Sam's playing very basic Moon Knight. You know, I would personally go on the height right there just so, you know, he's not standing behind his tanks potentially getting picked off. I think he should have Moon Knight ulted a little earlier too. Not to rag on the guy, but you know, because here it's a little too late. I mean, he does do it right as the Invis ult falls, but it's a little late. You know, his teammates really didn't get value out of that, and then the cloak ult coming out here is gonna stay up through the Invis ult. Then yeah, I think Bowie just definitely is running a little bit better. Funny enough, even though I was saying that I don't agree with their comp, it's actually working successfully. Once they got off Wolverine, mind you, I was correct. Once they got off Wolverine, everything was working out for them. So yeah, I mean, I think UA should maybe switch their comp up a bit. I don't know if Deadpool's really it. You know, I was kind of stating that it might work, but you know, it's actually turning out that it's not. So maybe we should consider something else, maybe another shield of some sort. I don't really know. It's hard to say. I just think maybe Quenchable just thinks he's a little too deep into the upgrades of Deadpool to kind of waste it. But you have to either do it now or later. You know, and I would say for Deadpool, you want to do it earlier until it's too late. Because, you know, unfortunately, he's not getting too much value. Eternix actually getting picked off there through the Moon Knight ult, then Dark Magic having to run back into it. And yeah, we see, like, Bowie Stage is kind of playing better, to be honest. You know, the Moon Knight ult was better placed as it was behind Albany, forcing them to either go in the Moon Knight ult or just get picked off. And as we see, Bowie State's at the end already with 3 minutes to spare. If they get the time here, they're gonna have almost 5 minutes of time going into this last section, where Albany had a minute 30. It's not looking good. So very unfortunate here. And I don't know. I think he was trying to shoot the Ankh, but you know, the whole team kind of whiffed there. I think Eternix is kind of just taking these angles a little too aggressive. Maybe Adam is the play, just maybe, right? I think the Reds are doing good, but Adam just does, you know, either so much or so little. It's a little inconsistent in that regard. Quenchable dying there, he's kind of out of place there, you know, kind of trying to 1v6. Another Moon Knight ult coming out that might pick off Eternix. He does successfully fly, but yeah, this is not looking good. Marcus did swap to Cloak a bit ago, and Mag barely not dying there. But we see it again, where the Cloak ult's on point. No one to be seen. That is not what you want to see from, you know, a pretty big ult. And Eternix using ult here, I believe for 2, 3 now. So very worth it. I think that was a smart play from Eternix. So I think that's where they find the benefit of Adam, at least in the end game here. But yeah, they're gonna have to just lock this down completely. Like I said, maybe Quenchable should switch to something a little more consistent. As I say that, he gets a pick, so I'm gonna shut up until the end here about, you know, maybe him swapping and you know, a little more focus on what we have here. Hella ult is gonna struggle here, you know, because the cart is underneath that little section. Unless Albany plays out into Bowie State's space, she's not really gonna get a lot of value. Then, you know, on top of that, straight Shagel's gonna be huge here. I think he gets either 2 or 3. Only got Quenchable, maybe, actually, as from my perspective. So maybe not as big as I thought, both tangles actually not being as big as I thought, but Turnix's dying there is not good. And oh my god, hell, 3 in a row. Oh my god. That is unfortunate there. And I think that, I mean, tough to say, but Albany needs to run back on point. Dark Magic is going to port here, but unfortunately for this map, the port, like, the area which you could port in is so far up. And unless Adam flies through, which he cannot, Bowie State is going to take game 3 here. So, you know, I mean, maybe I jinxed Albany here by saying it potentially the last game, because, you know, Bowie State did take it. So we are going to go to a game 4 here. If I assume who got MVP, is that Adam? Don't tell me. No, it's Moon Knight. Wait, what skin is this? It's Moon Knight. Thank you. Okay. Don't know what skins they're adding to this game anymore. These are getting a little crazy. But yeah, Moon Knight definitely here. I mean, his ults were just being used very well there. Maybe got Moon Knight diffed, but I don't want to say that. Because, you know, they both actually, Sam actually got more damage. So I think it's just a matter, you know, not team diff, but, you know, just value overall. Then, you know, giving credit to the Hella player too. I even said the Hella would not do too much. But, you know, called my bluff and just did amazing. Both DPS on Bowie State did quite well. Then, you know, for Albany, not a bad game necessarily. Gabe getting crazy healing. But if I had to guess, the healing is actually quite disappointing as I say that. Because, you know, Gabe is at 41. But if we're combining Marcus and the Turnix, it's barely covering what was missed. On top of the ult usage being, I don't want to say horrendous, but like it was not the best. Which, you know, they can do better. I've seen it. So, but hopefully they fix all of that in game 4. We'll be right back when that starts. And welcome back, everybody, to Game 4 for tonight. We are looking to go to T'Challa. Hopefully, we don't have to restart or pause like we've seen last time. And as I said, oh no, we're good. I got scared. But, you know, like we talked about, you know, a little bit last game, the ult usage really needs to lock in here. And is not to point out, but is Gabe bronze? I mean, I'm thinking I got back into gold personally, but yeah, I mean, just a little detail. Anyways, focusing on the game here, Jeff Band right off the bat, they must hate this damn shark, or he got buffed. I apologize, everybody. I really should have looked at the patch notes. Maybe Jeff is just busted, right? We see a silver fox. Sorry, white fox, not silver fox. White fox. No, yep, it is white fox. Get hovered here. We haven't seen her yet. I'm shocked. I thought she was, like, from when I saw and, like, word about her, like, I thought she was going to be busted, kind of like Kiriko. And if anybody knows anything about Kiriko, busted, right? So, pretty interesting here. A Groot save. So, I would assume that Albany maybe used him in the first game, and it was just dominating. Then, pretty similar, Bowie State banning Bucky, but saving Gambit. I don't know how well that payoff is. Actually, yeah, wait, that might... Oops. Oopsies. Not to say that would determine the game, but using your first ban for Jeff is kind of crazy. Now, maybe if he is as busted as I'm thinking, then yeah, maybe understandable. But Gambit is just so consistent in comp, so it's really interesting to see that he's, you know, not first ban as usual. And the Wolverine save, once again, these are some interesting few bans and saves. And we do see Imdis get saved. I don't know how much I agree with that. I don't think either team were looking to ban Invis just because they've both been using her. And we kind of saw last game where some of these bans and saves are kind of useless. I shouldn't say useless, but like unwarranted. Like, you don't need to save a character that both teams are using. And similar to that, you don't need to ban a character that both teams are using, because yeah, you're both using it, but it you know, if it benefits you, it can benefit. Like, it's how much you want to, you know, determine if it's going to mess you up or save you. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to see White Fox gameplay. I was looking forward to it. But, you know, Marcus kind of getting diffed here. He doesn't know it, but the Gambit on the other team plays Gambit just a little bit, right? Similar, you know, and similar light to the Loki doing the same thing. Yeah, the comps this time around are a little different from what we saw today. Definitely going to a more pokey, well, I say that, but we see Wolverine again. Then, you know, the classic Punisher and Gambit. You know what, they should just give those guys a team up at this point, because, you know, from all the comp games I've commentated so far, I see Gambit Punisher, I think, almost every time. Like, obviously because of the ult combo, but, like, still, it's crazy, right? Then looking at gold, Pictac going to Angela. Angela Groot triple tank, holy. Got to see how that's going to fare. Don't know how well. I mean, maybe they're playing Angela kind of like a pseudo DPS, kind of similar to Thor, like I was talking about, where it's kind of like tankier DPS, which in that case is okay. And I think that definitely is the thought process here, and also because you can get the point pretty fast. You know, he's trying to peek underneath here, but Moon Knight Punisher is being real annoying here. I think Albany should get away from this area and just go to point so they can play more in the open. So hopefully whoever's IGLing over there is, you know, making sure that's known. And Emma almost getting picked off real quick by there. I'm assuming Angela had grabbed her. I think they're gonna have a difficult time here. I mean, like, Matt can only do so much, and, you know, it's hard to say, right? And the group pick is similar to that. The group pick is also Mike gonna suffer here. He's gonna get, you know, just shredded by Moon Knight, Loki, and Punisher. Everybody on the team is gonna be looking for a group. As I say that, the group actually lives, and Albany gets 2 picks. Gambit actually, Marcus playing a more aggressive role there. He was like on the enemy side, trying to make space, which is kind of, you know, kind of nice to see. And Quenchable really taking it upon himself to play the main DPS role. That's what he's been doing, I mean, almost this whole season, is taking that main DPS role. and especially here in a playoff game, taking it upon yourself to make the maybe discuss with his team, saying I can solo DPS here. Pressure, but if you can do it, it's a pretty good outcome, And Phoenix is probably one of the best candidates for solo DPSing. Her burst damage is quite crazy, and he's kind of just hovering here. But Punisher does die, even though the combo came out. Thank God they shut that down. But Marcus does get traded out for that, so it's gonna be interesting to see how that fares here. This Invis I think is beautiful, and I think Albany is playing this much better than they did last game. Last game was maybe a little iffy. I think I jinxed them, unfortunately. But yeah, they're playing this much better. Knowing who to target is a big thing here. They're really, whenever they see Punisher in the Gambit combo, they're just crowding this Punisher and taking him out before he can even wind up. So I think, the little things like that are definitely being well done here. And funny enough, small little detail, why is Groot at 1,000 HP? Kind of crazy if you think about it. That reminds me of like Wrecking Ball. I know I keep making Overwatch references, but still crazy that the Groot was just in there at 1,000. And 2 people dying there, from the Emma and Loki combo there. And Albany kind of got ran down there. Maybe the positioning was a little off. I think in that instance, Albany should move up and get away from point. Sounds a little contradictive, but you don't want to just sit on point for the enemy team to gather space and just jump you. So I think there, Groot and Mag should have played up with each other. Angelo looking for space and maybe to grab someone, while the support just like AFK their tanks. Like, I think that's just the strategy there. But unfortunately, they did not do that, and we saw them get rolled. Or maybe it's similar to this, where the Mag just got picked off. It might have just been that. And unfortunately, I don't think Quenchable actually got off Phoenix and went to Moon Knight. I don't think he should really waste his right clicks on the Loki clones. Not that maybe he didn't know, but kind of not worth it. Oh my God, no offense, Quenchable, kind of got messed up there. The Angela just went for the throat there and just slammed him in the air, which is good for the Emma player, but god damn. And right after he ulted, that's like brutal. And this is not looking good. If I was Bowie State, I would be preparing the Strange ult, because I don't think they walk onto this point. They don't have a mobile comp in the slightest. But the only thing they do have is Gambit ult to run at them, and forces the Mag ult. Mag ult dies before it can get thrown. The whole team of Bowie must have just been shooting that down. And oh my god, huge Groot ult. These are huge ults, and they're really well placed. It's just very unfortunate that Bowie State, blocked by James, is just kind of playing not much better, but even in a disadvantaged state, they are playing really smart. And Quenchable switching to Spider-Man. Oh my god, he almost webbed himself off the map. But yeah, I mean, very interesting Spider-Man gameplay. They actually get to pick on Gambit, and funny enough, Albany's actually taking this fight back. It's, I believe, 2-2, now 2-3 regarding the picks. And Angela's actually, oh my god, Cloud is Loud is barely surviving. His right click killed 2 people. He's hanging on. It is just Angela left. And Invis, see, this is the big thing. I mean, Angela would normally win against Groot here, but having one support against it could be a Groot and an Invis against 4 people, and I'd put my money on the Invis and Groot simply just because of how good those characters are separately, but then together there's even better. And right there, Albany taking the point and finally finishing this round. I think that's good for them. I think them finishing that round faster is good, because I think the longer it would have went on, the better Bowie State would have done later on. Now Bowie State is definitely swapping roles and swapping characters here. I believe the Gambit, the Loki, and the Punisher. I think I'm just tweaking. I don't think they swapped at all. They were swapping people around, but they just went back to their default comp. Then, surprisingly enough, no swaps from either team here, which is kind of crazy. I mean, because I think it was such a close game, they're not really worried about it. But, even then, are you sure you don't want to swap? now just so you can build ult and get comfortable on the character. Who knows? I'm not in the game. So Patak, doing Angela things, looking to grab someone and just trying to see what they're rolling out with. Loki swapping to, I didn't see the ult. Probably Gambit ult if I had to assume, using this early Gambit ult, and yeah, it definitely is because Bowie State just ran at Albany. And when Gambit first came out, and we see it even now, like when Gambit's not banned, it's whoever gets Gambit ult first wins the fight. And that can just snowball the game in general. Like it's generally just a rush or Gambit ult because you can just run the other team down so fast. And because Loki had clone there, he could just do that. And Quenchables can get great value here. I can already see it. The Groot walls are just so obnoxious for him to kind of trap people and allow Quenchable to, it's kind of herding the sheep into the pen just for Quenchable to strike them down with his crescents. Weird analogy, but it does work because Albany does actually take the point. So, very successful. Then Mag jumping off the map, smart man, get the faster cooldown.
Well done, my
so,
son.
Albany's I don't know. I think they're in a great position. Actually, I'm gonna confirm that because we see that the Punisher does not have a Gambit ult to combine with his. Now, not to say Punisher ult can't do good without it, but it's very vulnerable, especially that Mag ult is online, and he's definitely saving it for Punisher, no doubt about it. So, Bowie State is going down the stairs there. Punisher ult comes out. I'm assuming Dark Magic will probably ult soon. And we see that he chucks it and misses. Misses the 3. Very unfortunate. Hyazlow does Groot ult like 3 or 4 of them. And actually, although he didn't get kills himself, his team definitely cleaned up here. And, yeah, and not enough to be said there. They kind of just, they played that really smart. I mean, the positioning I think was better by Albany. Bowie State did go down those stairs there, but Albany just played the distance, and Bowie State didn't know what to do because they only had Punisher ult, and then once that went down, they couldn't have much to do. So, well done, Albany. Then, we're at 60% already, so there's probably 1 or 2 more fights until the end. Hopefully, the Danes can close this out. Quenchable already had another ult, and it looks like Bowie State's doing the same rollout, which I don't think is good for him. I think Dark Magic playing his distance, just throwing his mag, like, his main attack is better, and Cloud's Loud playing that corner. Unfortunately, Punisher did not die there. Quenchable, I think, got a little scared because he was getting shot in the back, and he actually gets picked off first, a long Patak. So this is not looking good. The Invisult comes out, which you are getting to possibly 100%, 99% here. But if you're losing the fight, maybe Invisult could come in handy later. And Bowie State is successfully going to take this point back. So I do think Albany should just, cut their losses and leave. But, I say that, but we saw Patak last second waste his ult there, then Quenchable getting, like... Where was the mag? I blinked and Quenchable was dead. That is crazy. A mag can do that. That's fair, honestly. But like I was saying, Patak kind of wasting the ult there just to leave is not really worth it. Similar to with Gabe, I don't think the Invis ult was smart. But it's gonna be a Gambit ult clash here. It's whoever can just frag better. Cloud's Loud having ult though is what scares me for Bowie, because if he sees 3 of them, he's gonna just end them. But I say that, but he actually is the first one to die, and yeah, this is not a good Gambit ult from Albany at all. Marcus is getting a pick there, but half their team is dead from the Gambit ult alone. Quenchable trying to get a flank here. I think he needs to get a pick. Missed a right click. They need to get a pick and run this down. Dark Magic using an aggressive Maggle. Very strange for him to do that. He usually uses pretty conservatively, and now they don't have anything for Punisher. He does kill Mark, and he kills 2. Very close fight. Cloudslab forcing the ult. Does not get 1. I think Dark Magic might have stole that kill. But yeah, very unfortunate. And Bowie is going to take game 2 of T'Challa. And yeah, I mean, I think it really came down to the ult usage there once again. Yeah, ult usage is becoming so much apparent. in like higher level games. Like if you're just throwing ults out, you're not gonna do good. And I think Patak and Gabe using that ult like right near the end of a losing fight, total waste. Like respectfully, like not the smartest. And then on top of that, the Gambit ult just was in the favor of Bowie, I guess. Maybe they're more situated for Gambit ult. And I think that's actually really true. I think that speaks a lot of volumes. Because Punisher and Emma, I think, can play really well with Gambit ult. You know, it gives them the movement speed that they don't really have. But we see UAlbany, they have Emma. But, like, Moon Knight is not going to do too much with that. You know, other than, like, the damage boost. Then, Angela kind of similar to that. So it's just, I think Bowie is definitely more situated for Gambit. That is just me personally. So they're also running very similar comps. Almost half the characters here are basically the same. The only difference is Loki and Punisher. So yeah, very, very interesting is all I can say. Maybe the Angela pick isn't really working. And not that I haven't really seen Angela be like, I don't think I've seen Angela really too much in a fight. Like I don't see Patak in the backline like messing someone up personally. But maybe I'm just not seeing. And I say that, and I inspired him because he picks off the mag successfully, and I think Albany should run. Once again, don't really agree with this Invis. I think they were winning the fight already, so like, yeah, you don't want to risk someone dying, but like, if you have the point and you see the enemy team running, why be popping the ult? You know. On top of having 2 picks, I believe the mag was dead already, and maybe the Moon Knight. So like, I don't know. Heat of the moment, I guess, right? So here we do see Bowie using, they're using the map really well. They don't just constantly go down the choke. Gambit off the top. I think this is a great play from Bowie. Although they popped 3 ults, used 3 ults, but they did get the point, but they kind of ult dumped because now they only have Gambit ult, Mag ult, and they will have Punisher ult. So maybe if the combo works really well, they'll come out on top. But yeah, 3 ults, kind of an ult dump in that regard, I would say. And I know one thing from the patch is that they made ults much longer to get, so it takes more time. Can't just pump out ults constantly. So even now it's more important that you use ult correctly. Then Gambit's ult coming from both teams here. The Moon just showering down on them. That was actually quenchables. I was confused. I was like, why is he not dying to Moon Knight ult? So huge ult from Patak. It gets broke instantly. Very unfortunate. He should have just grabbed that health pack. That is a small misplay by him. I think if he dies, I will say that's a misplay because now his support needs to look away from maybe someone else to heal him. But as I say that, he dives right back in, gets mag shield, and gets a pick 2 and 3 and 4, and just snowballing here. So I'll take it back. It's the little details, sometimes. So Bowie did get more than halfway here. So very close game. It's really hard to say. I think as of right now, oh my God, we see 2 swaps. Wow. It's interesting that they swap in the middle of a round, having to adapt to new characters in a game 3 of a set of 4. It's a lot of stuff. But we're seeing Thor and Star-Lord here for kind of a more, annoying approach, I guess, because Thor and Star-Lord are quite annoying. But Albany has much better ults here, and more of them, and Dark Magic actually getting the Moon Knight there. Seeing that he's off Punisher, he's like, I'm just going to let one rip. So, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Gabe using Invis ult here, once again, kind of just saving his team. Then Cloud is Loud, successfully trying to get this Gambit. Gambit self-healed so much there, that was crazy. He just gave himself 3 health bars. Then Cloud is Loud successfully taking this, and this is getting really close. 10 seconds left, or about 10 seconds left. If they don't hit overtime, they don't have a port. They're on point, duh. That's why the Loki's probably just invised with his right click and just tap point for them. Still no ult from Bowie. That is quite concerning, and that's a big misplay because that's it. Albany successfully won the final point on T'Challa and successfully win their first playoff match 3-1 against Bowie State. So well done to the gold team. we'll be back next week for another playoff game. But we do have, if we have time for it, the UAlbany purple team is playing. As of right now, I believe both teams were scheduled for today. So we're quickly going to go through the scoreboard and instantly hop onto that. So I'm assuming it was Quenchable getting MVP. I'm not going to question that. Actually, Cloud is Loud. My apologies, sir. Did really well there at the end. So really well done. We are going to shift gears real quick to purple if we have the time. So we'll be right back when that gets situated. our apologies, everybody. We will not be commentating the final game because, unfortunately, the timing just messed us up. So that will be it from us. I will hopefully the purple team will win, so I can commentate them next week and mention how great they are because they won their playoff games. But until then, we will hopefully see you next week for the next playoff game. Have a good night, everybody.